Hello and welcome to What's Next. I would truly like to thank His Excellency for giving us this opportunity on behalf of YPO 280 chapters in 14 different countries. We are truly grateful. I would also like to give a huge shout out to YPO Chairperson Elizabeth Zucker. Thank you so much for being on this call today. And Elizabeth, we'd like you to say a few words to the 2,100 people that have joined us today.
Thank you very much, Seema. In a time of crisis, you always think about what's the silver lining, and I think this is such an appropriate example. I can't recall ever having over 2,000 members, spouse partners, our children, our management team members, all joining together virtually to be able to consume and learn from such an extraordinary resource. This just wouldn't happen if we could all be in person, candidly. And I think that this is one of the things that we have to take away and learn and apply in the future, is that we can be so much more inclusive when we're virtual. And what an opportunity to share and to learn and to grow together that we have before us today. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to say a few words, and I am going to hand it off to Gent to do an introduction.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Ahlan wa sahlan, and a warm welcome to everyone joining this webinar. As Seema has just mentioned to you, there are over 2,100 YPOers and their distinguished guests joining us from over 300 chapters and all of YPO's 14 regions around the world. On behalf of YPO and my colleagues on this call, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our eminent speaker, His Excellency Mr. Mohamed Alabbar. Whilst many of us living in the region know Mr. Alabbar, he can easily be termed as the master of many industries, which include, but are not in any way limited to, real estate development, shopping centers, hospitality, e-commerce, mining, F&B, public sector work, retail, and venture capital. Mr. Alabbar is the founder and chairman of EMEA Properties, the largest developer in the GCC and one of the largest developers in the world. EMEA, as you would know, has developed several world-renowned landmarks like the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, Dubai Mall, the largest shopping mall in the world, hospitality businesses such as the Address and the Armani hotels. His other businesses include Noon.com, which is one of the largest e-com businesses in the GCC, which he co-founded along with the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia in 2017. Eagle Hills, which is a private real estate development and hospitality business set out of Abu Dhabi, but doing business all over the world. The Americana Group, which represents everything from KFC, Pizza Hut, Hardee's, and operate 1,800 plus restaurants in almost 20 countries. Mr. Alabbar is an entrepreneur at large with experience in businesses all over the world, Asia, Africa, GCC, Europe, the US. He has been involved in public sector work where he set up the economic department of Dubai in the late 80s and then moved on to doing private work. He is also one of the most trusted advisors of the ruling families of Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Not surprisingly, Mr. Alabbar has been included in the top 10 most influential people in the UAE. He is in the top 5 business leaders in the UAE and the 100 most influential Arabs.
Yeah.
Our format today will follow the following. I will yield the floor to His Excellency for the next 15-20 minutes so that he can give us his insights on what comes next for businesses in the post-pandemic era. As YPO is all about learning, I request him to kindly tell us what keeps him up at night, because these are uncertain times, and which business and personal skill sets will be most useful to navigate these troubled waters. Then for the next 30 odd minutes, I'll open up the floor for questions from the entire audience. Please send your question answers to us. The question answer portal is now open for you to send them through. And then in the last 10 minutes, we will wrap up. So with that done, I yield the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Mohamed Alabbar. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. And everybody is very keen to listen to you.
Well, first, let me say that I am so thrilled to join you all. And I really want to thank you all for also giving me the opportunity to talk to you. It's such an honor. And I would like to say that I am sure the brain power and the wisdom and the intelligence and the intellect of the people who are participating with us is the thing that I value the most, because I really think that during these times, we really need everybody's help. Nobody knows which way to go. We all keep trying and we'll all continue to try, but I really think there is so much knowledge in this group that I hope we all benefit from. This is, I cannot describe what's happening, but I only can say that it's a violent attack on humanity. The planet Earth is almost like a little, prison. We've never gone through anything like this. I don't know if my parents have gone through, I wish my dad was around to ask him if they've ever gone through anything like this. But even if they have gone through a situation like this, I'm sure they used to live a much simpler life. Our life is complex, our businesses are complex. So it is different, and it's harsh. And when you run big, complex businesses, you realize that the bigger these organizations are, the bigger the pain is, and the bigger the worry. Unless you don't worry, but I really think that the people we have in our group, they're people who are really concerned about, the well-being of humanity, because this is a health attack that today we are paying the price as well for when it comes to health, but we're also paying the price when it comes to the economy, well-being of people, jobs, and so on. So, my heart is really out there for the people who are facing the difficulties with the disease. My heart is out really for these heroes that work day and night to protect us. But at the same time, my heart is out there for people also who lost their jobs. But the biggest worry, I think, as a result of all this, is that most of us are scared and worried. I mean, this is the big thing that I think a lot of the people that I speak with is that there's a concern, there's insecurity, because this thing is so unknown. And the amazing thing is that I think every one of us reads day and night, multiple sources. We want to understand. But at the end of the day, I really believe in the ability of human beings. God is so kind that what we as human beings are able to do is just unimaginable. So the capability of man and women is something that have proven that it will last, it will get over this thing. And if we go back, look at unfortunate diseases or world wars in the world, and previously, you talk about the loss of 50 million people, the loss of cities, infrastructure. But human beings are so capable, and I still believe in that we are capable, that we are really going to go through this, no matter how tough it is. There will be some pain, of course. There will be some pain, and there will be some people who can handle the pain more than others. Therefore, this really takes me to the question of, how can you get ready for something like this? And the truth, we're humbled. We can never get ready for anything like this. I don't care how brilliant we are. But I believe that if we go back to the proper principles, that probably people like, your parents and my parents used to do business will be in better shape. And the principles are very basic. They have the best people working for them. They really worry about their debt and their cash, or maybe no debt. They really focus on what they do, right? And I don't think they have anything called customer service, but so concerned about the people they deal with, if it's their staff or if it's their clients. So if people are really focused on these principles, our chance of survival is much better. But also the world is complex. We are go-getter. We will take debt. We need to make our balance sheet efficient. So you have to have a lot of debt to make sure that your balance sheet is efficient. And at the end of the day, when something like this happens, you pay the price. Unfortunately, I've gone through the 1997 crisis in Singapore when I had my retail business, and I suffered badly. We had, unfortunately, 2007 and 8, and that was another pain. But that pain was a little easier because, honestly, I forgot half of the learning of the pain in Singapore. I'm glad I still remember the half. But then after 2008, I made sure I don't forget the lesson. But still, even if you do well, even if your cash flow is right, even if your debt is right, even if you have the best people, this total lockdown and sudden stop to the world, I don't know how businesses can handle this. All right, but I still believe that with good people, I think we all can go through this. And as I said, some will do it better than others. What's the right solution? We still do not know. And I'm sure Nilesh and some of my colleagues, the discussion is going on now, and we're trying to take advice together, working with the government of Dubai about reopening of shopping malls. And the truth, we really do not know how this reopening is going to happen. We have to figure it out. We have to try it and learn, but we're trying to focus that we want to minimize the effect of the disease on people as we open. So that's another trial. We're working day and night. We really don't know how to go about this, but I think we have enough wise people around us that they will advise us. Now, a lot of people ask, and including me, I would like to know, what will the world be, once we go back to normality? And when are we going to go back to normality? Some people are positive, some people are optimistic, and all of us as businessmen and businesswomen, we are very optimistic people by nature. Otherwise, we will not be who we are here. But I truly believe that, third quarter business is still going to be tough. Fourth quarter, God knows. I really worry about October. Honestly, I worry about October and November. The weather is going to be cold again. But then again, human beings are amazing. We might have a vaccine, or we might have something that ease the pressure on us. So in my book, I am looking at 2020, that it's a balance sheet and a profit and loss account business-wise that will be really tough. I need to swallow I need to bite the bullet. Now, we are trying to see if we really buy, first quarter, end of first quarter 2021, we can go back to some normality, because we're trying to figure out, will the vaccine be there at that time? But I'm still careful. Even if we talk about 2021, I'm still cautious. I'm still careful until a vaccine comes out. Okay, so what will happen to business? The optimistic people, they believe that as we get over this, life will go back to the norms that we're used to. And when will that be? Maybe it's early, mid 2021. But I also believe that what happened to all of us, I think it has proven that the world, it's not so flat. I really believe that as well, the concept of globalization is at risk. Because it's very embarrassing to know that between countries, people are trying to steal, medical equipment and so forth. Food is becoming a big issue. By the way, in Americana, thank God, half our business is restaurant and half our business is food production. So food production business is really doing well and covering us. But because our restaurants almost 70% are closed. But at the same time, again, we are becoming, I'm thinking regional. I'm talking about myself. I'm thinking regional. How can we really build businesses that are good for the region? Globalization is fine, but I don't know how long is the whole globalization philosophy is going to continue to be the way it is. And the other thing is that I really believe that China-American situation is always going to be an iffy situation. That is something that's, the relationship between these two giants is something that they have to watch. Looking at this new trend of working from home, it has proven me wrong. I always thought that working from home will make people unproductive. I'm really surprised. People are doing well and very productive as well. Now, employment. I think there is a challenge there. I believe that unemployment will be a challenge. I think pay will be a challenge after this situation that we are going through. Of course, unfortunately, it's a bigger challenge during the coming 6 months. But I think the challenge will continue with us, because I think we are also learning that technology and automation is the way to go, and that's really where most of the world is going to head. On industries, of course, I don't want to be biased, but deliberate is going to be the name of the game. The deliberate business has been growing for a long time, but now, people are forced to really try the digital business and the e-commerce business. If it's really e-commerce, it's food delivery, and human beings get into these habits. So therefore, I think there'll be the shift and the direction of deliberate is going to be to continue to go that way. Industries, I really have no idea, but I believe that industries that are connected with technology is going to be the way to go. Of course, we have our traditional businesses that will continue to serve our society. I don't think these businesses are going to go under. Our organization is big in our shopping mall business. I mean, they will always be there. But I think the small guys are going to suffer as a result of this. But it's the same thing in trading. I believe that in retail, I worry that the small guy will get hurt, and then the big groups will continue to flourish. So I guess if we were to look at America, I think the Walmarts, the Targets of the world are going to continue to grow because of the size of these organizations, because of the human caliber that exists, because of the size of balance sheets, and then the small guys will suffer. Talking about what worries me the most, I really worry for the poor guy. I worry, what will people do in Africa? What will people do in the slums of India? That really worries me. But then if you ask me and tell me what worries you the most in your business, is that I look left and right and I say, where is the brain power? Where are the best people that I can depend on? And today, I would tell you 80% of my focus on where are the best people to help me run these businesses that I'm responsible for. I think many of you have heard me in the past. I never expected anything this bad, but I always worry that there's no stability. There is no stability. I mean, we do business, government regulations change, talent change, competition change, technology change. Of course, I'm from the Middle East. Wars and conflicts is something that we live with every single morning, right? And then, you've got the environment that's changing all the time. Now, medical conditions that we have to deal with. So this is something that we have to get used to, is that this is an environment that we will continue to do business and we'll continue to learn. We will get better as we go on. But this change that's taking over the world everywhere, I think that's something that we have to really embrace and live with and get ready for. And therefore, our organization, our families, our societies have to also embrace that. Now, let's go back to governments. I really believe that the governments in the world, I criticize government for not having the ability, but they really did a good job. I mean, this is a scary attack, and for governments to do what they're doing, I really salute them. And I know that we're saying, oh, maybe America have started late, maybe they're short of health equipment, or other countries facing the same. But they with what they have, they've done well. But at the same time, now I'm thinking about democracy. I think the concept of democracy maybe have to be altered, have to be changed. You see countries that I would say that they are not so well versed in democracy. Their healthcare system is doing much better than a democratic countries. I'm not saying that democracy is not good, but I'm saying that there are changes that have to take place. And I believe that the governments are like us. They will learn. They will do better as we move on.
Sir, thank you very much for that insightful opening. I think you've touched various numbers of points, and I can see lots of questions come through. I'm going to probably get you started by asking you initially, you said that you see a very slow recovery. You're concerned about October, and you believe that even we should be optimistic for 2021, and 2020 typically looks like it's going to be a low year. How do you think habits specifically related to the society in terms of shopping, social, outgoing lifestyle are going to change in our immediate vicinity and the world at large?
Well, it depends on each country, but we are in the Middle East. We're really blessed. 70% of our society are the most productive women and youth. I mean, youth is 50% and women 25%. So I believe that having youth and having the women in our lives is the greatest blessing. That because their energy is different, their attitude towards matters different, so they will really help us, move a little faster than other countries, I believe. But still, governments are very responsible. They're really, in the region, at least I speak, that they're very concerned about the health of society, and they're very, very concerned that we do not have, once the society opens, that we don't have a surge again in cases, because the pressure in every country on healthcare system is big. But I really believe that I don't care about business at this time, but it has to be gradual for the well-being of our children, for our grandchildren, and responsible countries are going to do that. Of course, we all know that we have countries that are under pressure because of employment of the poor. And you see that in India, you see that even in America, you see that even in Egypt or possibly in Pakistan, that these are daily workers, that they need their daily income. So it will be a tough balance.
I think the issue, sir, which probably you are in a better capacity, given the fact that you have the year of the ruling families, is that we are in, as you call this, prison, and everybody wants to be unshackled and released. The small business that you so correctly referred to provides the ecosystem around which big enterprises survive. If that small business, small medium enterprise does not survive this pandemic, the bigger companies will have an issue. Where would you be giving advice to everybody that makes decision on how to salvage those small businesses?
Well, unfortunately, in our business, we're selfish people. That's really the truth. That's just the nature of the beast. But I believe that during this situation, I think, we all became better human beings because of what we see around us, because of the pain that we see and the drastic attack, as I said, this violent thing. I see that more and more of big businesses are really giving room for small businesses, for them to come back. And I'm really impressed that the big businesses are really saying that, listen, I'm doing well. This year is going to be bad. I will tighten the belt. I know this year is not a good year for us, but we've been doing well during the past years. Therefore, I have to give room. So I believe the whole situation, I think, made us all better human beings. At least the people I speak to, they are giving room for many of these small organizations and small businessmen.
I'll take you something closer to your heart. There is a big belief that there has been overbuilding in UAE in particular, and there is excess supply. EMEA typically has been at the forefront of building large communities, large developments. You have history of building many iconic projects. Do you think there is overcapacity now and it's time to slow down?
In every business, we go on oversupply. I'm sure many of you was operating business X, and then everybody's jump and start doing the same business, and there's too much competition. Hospitality have the same, technology have the same, and that's people are entrepreneurs, and they're aggressive and they want to give it a try, and people get hurt, but real estate is a cyclical business, and it's cyclical because when the market is good, everybody starts a project and it takes 3 years to finish that project. By the time you're in the middle of that project, the market is oversupplied.
It takes 5 or 6, sir. You know that, and I know that.
So because of the length of this period, then that's why you get into the oversupply, and then real estate. Really, a lot of people jump into it because it doesn't need a lot of skills. I would say it was not really so much the oversupply, but I really think that geopolitical situation in the region had a big effect on it. I also believe that I think we got in the middle of a lot of global issues that we have to deal with as well, with a little bit of oversupply. That's true, but these are markets that we have. These are situation markets that we have to deal with, and those who really take their business seriously, like Amar and many other real estate companies, they plan ahead. They watch the market 3 years ahead of time. Unfortunately, some small guys get hurt. I hope customers get a better deal. The government of Dubai is, very wise. Almost 9 months ago, they asked their semi-government entities to come out of the market, don't put in supply to the market, which is an amazing thing to do to basically balance the market. But unfortunately, the geopolitical situation did not help us. I think on the real estate in UAE also, we had a lot of restrictions. You've got restrictions of people moving their money from their own countries to buy real estate in Dubai. That has a big effect on how we do business as well, I must say. But I think we are at the end of that supply situation.
Thank you, sir. So if I look at commercial real estate, do you think there is a reset of relationships coming between landlords in general and tenants? Because you can hear about harrowing stories in the US and in Europe in terms of what's happening between shopping centers and their tenants. And I think we are all mature enough to understand that even some of that spillover is going to come into our area. So how does that relationship go forward?
I think it's a partnership. These are, good days, people pay you good rent. Bad days, we all have to do it on a partnership basis. I called all the big groups and I said, guys, please don't worry. We are partners. When it's good, we're doing well. When it's not so well, we'll all suffer together. Whatever the formula that we come up with, as we move forward, I think we should look at partnership. And the reason is that, again, I'll say that, listen, we've done well together. You paid me well. When you do business is doing well and you do well, I understand it's difficult times. I understand for me it's a difficult time because I don't want to tell you my loss of revenue on a monthly basis. It's big. But we had good years too. And if we are a business that does well during good years and you don't create a cushion and you don't create a good balance sheet and you don't have your good cash flow managed, then that's a big problem. So I really look at it as a partnership. We do well together. When it's bad, we'll also share the pain. What is the formula? I think it's a very easy formula.
Sir, now I'll take you to e-commerce and then we'll come back to real estate. I want to have as much of your wisdom out here. On e-com, there was a big story in terms of how you and Amazon were both going and bidding for Souk.
I'm sorry, I lost you.
I lost you. So we heard a lot about you and Amazon going after Souk at the same time. And in hindsight, the outcome that they bought Souk, how did that pan out for you? And what are the learnings from that experience, sir?
I lost you. Do you mind you repeat the question?
I'll repeat, sir. So the competition for Souk between yourselves and Amazon, where you did not prevail, what was the lesson learned from that? And in hindsight, how do you think it panned out for yourself, for Noon.com?
Well, again, my age is not the right age to start a tech business, but you know, to do business, you need to do all the right things, right? All of them. Get the
Then
right
you are
people.
the market leader, so so you've got it right.
But I must say that, you know, you need God to be on your side. And I really believe that all of us were blessed that God on our side. The learning, we're going to go into noon later, but the learning is that, you know, we really didn't understand technology much at that time. We didn't understand e-commerce well. We believed in it, but we didn't understand it well, to be honest. But maybe that made us tougher. You know, maybe this business of real competition with these reputable companies, maybe it made us a better people. We have better talent. We've you know, more aggressive than any other time. So it all depends. If you are willing to learn and get up and continue the fight, or you will just go in a little corner and hide. So
I think Seema has a question here.
I do. So, Your Excellency, in terms of noon.com, you must have seen that, you know, now that all of retail is on lockdown, Noon, of course, is a major player right now. So the trends that you're seeing in terms of buyers and in terms of consumer behavior, or even shifts that you're seeing in figures and sales, do you think these are going to last post-pandemic?
I want to answer you and make a comment. Of course, you see a surge, and I think let's be very reasonable. I think once malls go back in normal operation, I think we should expect that to go back to normal. Now, going back to normal with extra growth, because people who get used to it, they stick to it, but not the whole society. So if our growth is, say, 10%, then the normal growth is 10%. This thing is going to give you another maybe 5% on top of it when life is back and normal. But I really have to tell you that, you know, I started Amar honestly not for business. I started it because I was so concerned that we don't have a major, reputable real estate player in this region. And God is kind really got us there. You know, the whole Noon story is not really about me investing. It's not about me making money. But, you know, I deal with my kids and I see the life they live. And I keep saying that, you know, we're all 5 hours on our phone. But, you know, it's a shame that with all the money that we made in this region, you know, I mean, I'm talking about myself, you know, billions, will I see that we all live on this machine, but we have not one thing that we can use on this machine? It's so embarrassing for me. It's so embarrassing in front of my parents and in front of my children. But then on top of that, as you read, you realize that at the end of the day, business will be in the hand of one company that will control the life of our children and our grandchildren and our economies. And after that, they'll buy all the media, the way they bought media in America, and they attack our governments. I cannot sit and do nothing. Otherwise, why are you in your e-commerce business and attacking the White House and buying the newspaper? Why are you in that business? I want to understand. I'm a very tribal man. So if I don't care for my society and my family and my children, that we are not going to, they will not grow up to have a control over the mainframe and the data and the information and this new business and technology. And we live like what? We live like goats or sheeps? What a shame. So this is really what drove me. And I really want to thank the amazing people that guard Noon day and night. And I want to thank the investors who believed in my dream. We suffered the first 1 year to set it up because this business is not about an app. The app is $50,000. You fight and you struggle to get the best talent on earth. Not in India, in the world. And they have to continue to be that way. So it took us 3 years to build, and we still continue to build. And then after that, you have to be the best in 5, 6 businesses. You have to be able to scale fast. You have to know merchandising. You have to know payment. You have to know technology. You have to know human resources. You have to be the best in logistics. I mean, the thousands and thousands of cars we have and drivers and technology behind the delivery system, and it operates 24 hours. But you know what's the biggest problem? When I do my every night calls to customers, and I do this every night, and I see how upset this lady, because the Pampers for her kids, they were late. You can't believe. They yell, they are not happy. I sell homes, 4 million dirhams, and I'm late in delivering the house, and they don't even yell at me. But you know something? It makes me humble. It makes me humble that this is the real business. You cannot cut corners. You can't. So I really want to tell you that it is a gift from God. It is not, I am not smart, I am not capable, but it's a gift from God to say, listen. And I must say that many of you have witnessed and supported me when I started. Nilesh, especially you are my hero, you know. And
thank you, sir.
For us to be able to come today and say, my God, there is no one player who controls the price of the Pampers that I deliver to my grandkids. Plus, it's the business of the future. What do we think? We have 400 million Arabs. I mean, we should have one e-commerce company. We have 2 e-commerce companies, 3 e-commerce companies. So it was the greatest challenge in my life. It's the greatest achievement for myself. And somebody asked me, I remember after building Burj Khalifa, I said, oh, what are you going to do after this? I really think that noon is this thing, you know.
So Your Excellency, that's amazing. Humility and modesty at its best. But in lieu of all of this, is there a plan to go public with noon.com or to do an IPO?
We are really not thinking about that now. I'm sure in the future, but now there's so much focus on our people. There's so much focus on engineering that's going on. It's so much focus on dealing with what we're dealing with now. I mean, I cannot tell you someday when we meet each other, I'll tell you about the stories of what we go through these nights and days. So the answer is that it's not on the table now, but I really hope that we share the value with all of the businessmen that are supporting Noon. They should be priority, and our public as well.
Sir, thank you very much. I'm going to ask you a couple of the questions from the audience. Mr. Amit Damani from Dubai is asking, if you had a chance to do anything differently, what would you do differently?
Oh, you know, we're all very smart. We read all these good books, right? And I read a lot of books about talent. I wish I did a lot of that 20 years ago. I would be 20 times my size, and I would have less white hair. I really made a mistake in my life that I did not give time to go find the best people and then take care of them. So having the best minds is really the thing. Is really, I mean, by the way, I spend like 80% of my time on this subject these days. So I hope I answered.
Yeah. The general consensus is you hire good people and you hire difficult people. They give everybody else a hard time, sir.
Well, I think they think I'm a difficult boss. Let me tell you about my philosophy, why they think I'm a difficult boss. You know, I always tell my staff, I said, listen, I should send you to work with Emirates Airlines for 1 month. You will never be home on the weekend. You will miss the birthdays. You will always have a jet lag when you're home, right? And your pay is average. We're such a lucky bunch. We go home at 6. We spend weekends with our families, right? If anybody needs help, we are on the ground. Imagine these poor Emirates Airlines. They are, you know, these Emirates Airline people, they are my heroes in the world. They are really my heroes. Amazing what they do. And you know what? They fly to some awful places too, right? So I tell my staff, listen, I'm going to send you to Emirates, work with them for 1 month. Maybe you will become a better human being. And I'm saying this because I want everyone who's listening to me to appreciate life. We must work hard and appreciate what we have. And then when we work hard and we appreciate life, they call us lucky. We're not lucky people. We are hardworking people. We make it and they call us lucky.
Sir, on that question, Basil Hamwi is asking, how do you, so on talent, how do you get the best brain power and talent into your organizations? That's a general problem that everybody has. It's easier said than done and done than found.
It's an ongoing battle. You really have to keep trying all the time. And from my humble experience, I really feel that a lot of companies, their people's department are really not equipped to assess people well, to assess companies' talent. They cannot assess the company's need for talent well, and then they also cannot assess talent on the outside as well. Excuse me. So this is an ongoing pain, but I want you to focus on that.
Thank you. Many countries are experimenting with different models of reopening. Denmark, Sweden are doing different things, allowing nurseries, schools to open, kids to go back. Naveen Malrani has just sent me a question. It says, do you think we should be considering these kinds of changes here in our society, or are we not ready for that? The question.
I am conservative on the health side. I would say we're still not ready. And if you believe in the graph or not believe in the graph, even if there is a graph, I really would like to follow the graph a bit further before I take risk, because the government's working day and night, health departments, police, fire and hospitals. And I just think we should not hurry.
Understood, sir. Something I read, it says good judgment and its consequence, success, comes from experience. And whether we like it or not, experience comes from bad judgment. So I think on that, Nilesh has a question to ask. He's been sending me messages.
Your Excellency, with all your experiences, where would you advise the YPOs or advise us you would invest your capital? Which industries, which markets, which regions, which geography? Because you are in everything. I was telling someone, they asked me what Mr. Alabbar does. I say, does everything, he's not left anything for us to do. So can you please advise us?
Well, first, I learned my business in retail. I operated 800 stores in retail in the Far East and like 12 countries. Of course, the situation we are in now is quite interesting. For the past 2 years, I've been putting a lot of attention on East Europe. So I have operations in Croatia, and Belarus, Minsk, Serbia, Slovenia, and recently in Albania. And in these countries, my focus is real estate and hospitality. I underestimated the value of our food business. We originally bought Americana. Americana has about 80,000 people. So 50% of Americana's business is only food processing and food packaging. And we knew there is a good value, and the business have been growing beautifully, beautiful margins. I think we should have done more. We're going to do more, but we should have done more when it comes to our food business, which is still doing extremely well. That's food manufacturing. But why food manufacturing is important? Because I think many countries now are talking about food security, and that really plays well for profit margin and growth, and for the food security programs of many of these countries. I will still put, of course, our e-commerce business up there, but e-commerce business need resilience, need big capital, need complexity in how you do this thing. Therefore, I still believe that it's better to invest in some good operation when it comes to the e-commerce business or the digital business in general. I think that the digital business is really where the future is. But the digital business, the challenge is that we traditional businessmen, we don't know how to invest. We don't know what's a good investment, what's not. And that's why I invested in EVP. It's a fund that really invests in these ventures. So for me, I'm focused on my real estate business, and I think still that's a solid business, provided you keep your debt, at check. The food is doing extremely well for us. While of course e-commerce is doing extremely well, but I am not interested in matured economies. And many people tell me, "Oh, I know, come to America, invest in America, invest in West Europe." No, I'm not interested in 3% margin. That's it's just not. I don't know. Maybe some other people like 3% margin, but I'm not interested in the 3% margin. I go to different countries, different industries that will give me. It's harder to work there. It's not that easy, but I'm interested more in these fields.
Sir, you made a comment, and Ali Mirza from Singapore picked up on that. He said, "Please talk to us about your 1997 Singapore experience in terms of what were the key learnings of that episode in your life."
Well, we were in retail like many of you, and the merchandise is in the store, the merchandise is in the warehouse. There is a loan from the bank, but there is no sale, and the bank wants the payment.
Like most retailers today.
Yeah, and banks were snobbish, and I was really worried about some of my senior people. I was worried these guys, they might hurt themselves because they're so worried, they're so loyal, so decent. And our mistake is that we were young. We didn't go through anything like this where the world might stop and the bank payment is due. And the bank, those days, I don't know about Singapore banks nowadays, but they cared less. They really didn't care at all. So it was a liquidity issue, cash flow issue, and you need everybody to help you. You need the landlord to help you. You need the guy you buy the merchandise from to help you. You need your banker to give you room, and you need to be hard on yourself, and you cut your own cost.
Fair, sir. Sir, what do you think? Vikram Bhatia is asking, what do you think is the impact of the ongoing meltdown of the oil prices on our economies, and how does that bode for us in the next perceivable future?
Well, it's a new thing. It's last night.
Yes.
We all need to learn.
Somebody said that it costs more for toilet rolls than it costs for a barrel of oil, sir.
Well, of course, we know that, the world is, since the world have stopped, and as a result, there is no consumption. I believe it's temporary. Now, again, you have to have the stomach to probably swallow a year or 9 months of pain if you are in the business. But I'm sure that as the world come back, then oil demand will come back. The glut is big, of course, in the market. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that, the world is becoming very efficient. So what is the real, the real demand long-term for the oil? But I think this is temporary. But it's scary, very scary, very scary.
Ajay Ganti from Oman, sir, raises a very interesting point. He says demographics and the demographic composition of the GCC societies is going to change in the post-pandemic shakeout that is going to take place. It would be good to hear your views in terms of what do you think are going to be the main demographic shifts and changes?
Well, I don't really expect a big change because our economies are built on these demographics. If you tell me that these demographics will have a kind of a gradual change over time, I think probably that could happen. But as we go back to normality and talking about 2021, I don't see a major change.
No. Globalization versus nationalistic ideas. It's a growing phenomenon across the world today, sir. And we're seeing that jingoistic twinge everywhere that you read the newspapers in. How do you think that's going to affect commerce, and how do you think that's going to affect society in general?
Well, this game of globalization, I'm not that crazy about, because I need globalization so I can sell everything to you. But what am I selling to you? I mean, people talk about open markets in the UAE, and I said, okay, we are open, but what am I selling to you? I sell oil and date. So what's in it for me? But of course, I think a lot of people came out of poverty because of globalization as well. But there will be certain industries where I think people want to think regional. Most probably on the health side. I think on the essentials like food will be regional. Definitely, economies want to protect themselves in case of emergencies, and government, I think, will be very responsible that there might be some new policies that we have to be ready for. But the globalization as we know it, I think, unfortunately, it will continue. But there might be limits, and there might be, we might have globalization Trump style, because Trump, he believes in globalization, but it's a tilted globalization.
So Sanjeev Monty for Bangalore asks on this point. So with the change in globalization, do you see supply chains changing? People starting to become more self-sufficient in economies? We were so dependent on China that 17% of the world's GDP was being imported out of China. And I think that's something that has got disrupted, and we need to think. What do you think, sir?
That's one point I really forgot, because I have to tell you that when the Spain started, one of the biggest risks we were running with Noon is that, our warehouses had enough stocks, but our eyes were on China every single morning. When they were not working, we were concerned that, what will we do after 2 weeks? Ramadan is coming. So supply chain is very critical. I believe there will be a change, and a lot of governments and countries are going to have to build their own supply chain. Very good question.
And sir, we can go on talking. I have a final question, and then we can go into wrapping up. Rishi Kimji asks that in times like this, when people are stretched and times are difficult, the first thing that goes for a toss is corporate social responsibility. And everybody is talking about, or was talking about, that very crucial aspect before this pandemic hit. What do you think happens, and how do we remain on that part where we heal the world and the society that we live in?
Well, but it depends. I mean, there are organizations that can handle and continue to do well. There are organizations that just financially they can't. And I believe that during times like this, everybody wants to support. Everybody honestly want to be socially responsible. But you will have organizations that just can't make it. And you've got organizations that can really go and support and continue to support, because this is the real time to support, which I believe in.
I see that I have 222 questions left, but we don't have much time left. So I want to now hand over to Elizabeth, and then I'll come back and wrap up and say thank you. But you have been very generous with your time and very open with your ideas, and I thank you for that. Elizabeth?
His Excellency, I just wanted to thank you for really bringing us back to, I think you get foundational at some point, right? You start to think about, what does globalization mean for the future? I think it's something that's on many of our minds. It's definitely a huge component of our culture as an organization. And something stuck with me that you said, and that's that we all suffer together. We share in the pain. And I think as CEOs and business leaders, this is probably, for me personally, the biggest take-home value of everything that you shared with us today, is that we all share in the pain with each other as an organization and as a community of peers. And whether it's a CEO, a spouse partner, a member's child, or a management team, we are all in this together to make our world a better place and to succeed in life, not just business. And so thank you so much for sharing your thought leadership and your wisdom with us today. And I think that many of us, the thousands of us on this call, thank you.
Thank you. And I really, if you allow me to say that we are really blessed that all of us, we are safe, that we're all in cities and in countries where we are looked after. I think we thank God for maybe giving us a better level of income where we can afford to guard ourselves and still live under this lockdown, live reasonably well. And personally, I'm really touched that I live in a country where possibly we're the highest country when it comes to testing for the virus. And I love it that we've got 200 nationalities, and they all get the same care and they all get the same attention. So I'm also so blessed to live in a country where, you know, the government is like almost on a military mode to really take care of everybody. And I'm so blessed, and I really wish all of you that you get out of this wiser, stronger, with a lot of health for you and all those you love as well.
Seema, Nilesh, do you have any final words?
Just, Your Excellency, thank you so much. I echo what Elizabeth just said. It's been an incredible hour, and I wish we could have had more hours with you. Like Jen said, we have almost 200 plus questions still remaining. But thank you again for your time, and there are so many takeaways from what you've just shared. I'm just going to thank Jayant and Nilesh as well, because this event would not have happened had Nilesh not hounded and requested you. So thank you again for that. Jayant?
I cannot say no to Nilesh, so he could say yes, sir, before you call, or he says anything.
Rashid, thank you very much for everything. I really appreciate what you've done for the YPOs. We have so many people from so many different countries listening to you. It's you are the one who made a big difference in our lives when you built Burj Khalifa or Dubai Mall, or when you started the real estate projects. I live in an Emaar house. I live in Emirates Hills in Emaar property. My business is in Emaar. My offices are in Emaar. So I'm surrounded by you everywhere. But thank you for everything that you do. Really appreciate it.
Sir, from me, a final thank you for all the generous time that you've given to myself and my colleagues, and we truly appreciate your patronage and coming out to speak to us in these difficult times. There's a lot of learning here, and we thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe, Your Excellency, and God bless. Thank you very much.
I wish you well. I wish you all well.
Shukran jazilan.
Thank you.
Ma salam.
Assalam.